I think everybody's here, so I will call to order the meeting of the Carver Redevelopment Authority for January 18th, 2022. I see everyone is here. Oh, we're waiting for Paul Costas.
How about Paul? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. I counted 5 heads, but I counted Paul as the wrong Paul. So why don't we just wait a couple of more minutes for him to join us. He did say he would be able to, when at first he thought he would not be able to. So, and I made sure he got the link to him.
Okay.
So we'll go to 6:05 just to make sure. I don't have his cell phone number to text him and ask him.
I don't either.
No, send him up. Well, I
Which
guess I'm gonna.
reminds me, I need to get all of your cell phone numbers. I
Yeah,
have some, but I don't have all of them. I may actually only be missing Paul's.
I don't have him either.
I don't have him.
I don't, the only thing I have on Paul is his email address.
Yeah, me too. Well, he was having some family issues right now, so why don't we go ahead and start?
Okay.
And he can jump in when he has to. Okay, once again, we're going to start with the Route 44 development project. Again, I'm sorry I'm not able to make the working group meetings in the morning. It's a tough time for me. I am kind of.
Do we have anyone taking minutes?
We do not. Sue Hannon has a conflict, so she will be taking minutes from the tape.
Okay, great. Thank
So
you.
speak
Sorry.
loud, speak loud.
Okay,
But again, on the working group, I'm sorry, I'm not able to make those. I haven't been able to meet the new ITA yet, Mr. Fennessy. But I think I'm starting to hobble around a little bit better. So I think I'm going to try and make an appointment with him either towards the end of this week, if he has time to see me, or the first of next week. Just to get in and say hi, who I am, and what we represent and what we're doing. But for the working group people who do go, and that is Savory and Pat, I believe, right? Did you guys
Yeah,
go today?
We were both
Yes.
there today.
Yep.
Okay. So you want to give us an update? Who was there? Who was represented? The usual.
Pat and I were there at the working group meeting 2 weeks ago. Was the first time that the other emergency service people were there, and they were all there again today. That's Tom Walsh and Mark Dufley, Craig Weston,
Mike Ryan.
Pat was there. The new assessor, Joe, is that his name? Joe, right?
I think so. And Sue Moquin was there.
Yeah, Sue, the finance director, and Fennessy, Bob Fennessy was
And
there,
Mark Townsend.
and Sarah Hewins was there by phone. I just basically gave them an update on, which I'll give to you after we talk about this morning, on where we stand with the outreach and the meeting with the planning board, the upcoming meeting with the planning board next Tuesday night.
Mhm.
And that was about it. Then Pat spoke about the meeting that he and Paul had with the emergency services personnel. So Pat, I'll let you speak to that.
Okay, I have that as an agenda item a little further down.
Yeah, okay, I'll
Oh,
wait.
good. And Paul's here now too.
Okay.
There's Paul.
Hey,
Well,
everybody, sorry, I'm a few minutes late.
That's all right.
Hi, Paul.
There was a lot of discussion today at the working group meeting regarding traffic and to a certain extent also the number of employees and what the emergency services may be looking for. EMS was wondering with another 500 employees, another 500 people in town, what that's going to mean to their staffing. Are they going to have 2 ambulances on duty 24/7? The police chief questioned, or was concerned about not only that number of people, but a rather large building that will need to be patrolled and attended to when there are emergencies. These are all things that will most likely come up at the meeting on Thursday with all the EMS, with all the emergency services personnel and Hillwood. And Sharon and I will be there. Pat, were you planning on being there as well?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So, I mean, we had a lot of discussion about how imperative it is to know this information prior to the town meeting vote on zoning issues. And there was disagreement, to say the least, on whether that was needed now or not. The general feeling was that they wanted the information sooner rather than later.
Are you talking about like traffic and number of employee information?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, it was just briefly mentioned, and I know this is a sticking point to Pat, because Pat gets crazy when talking about the fiscal impact study. You mentioned Judy Barrett's name in front of Pat. His face gets red. I'm only kidding.
No, I am annoyed with her though.
I know, and funny, today I was reading the minutes that we have to vote on tonight, and her name was back in August.
And back in
Yeah.
August, it was
I
due
remember
in
that.
August.
I remember that meeting. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
due in August. And there's been some holdups and finger pointing and information and
Right.
but
Well,
the
excuse me,
bottom line is we do not have
who's paying her?
Hillwood.
Hillwood.
And
But
he's
we
not,
were-
and he's
we
just
were gonna-
satisfied?
I will speak to
going-
Matt personally, but I've emailed him, I believe on 2 occasions in the last 4 or 5 days saying, we need that, because we have to have a chance to vet it ourselves and have our finance people look at it
Right.
and see what's there.
Right, and what Judy said when we met with her that day on Zoom was that her area of expertise is dealing with emergency services, as opposed to the creation of jobs in ancillary businesses. Her focus is on what this is going to mean to emergency services. So, that's why it's particularly important, especially with the addition of the emergency people in our working meeting and their input and eventual, hopefully, support of this project. So that's something that I'm sure will come up on Thursday's meeting with Mac, that we need to get that.
Now have EMS met in person with Hillwood yet? Did they
don't
not have
think-
a meeting a week or 2 ago?
I don't
Hillwood,
know. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know,
Pat, do you know?
if it was in person.
Well, Craig Weston did, didn't he?
I know.
The big meeting is either, I don't know, tomorrow or Thursday. I'm not sure if they changed the day or not.
They
They
did
changed
change
it
the
to
date to Thursday.
Okay.
I think the meeting Thursday is the first time that these people are meeting face to face.
Together,
good.
yeah.
All right.
All of them together, yes,
Yeah,
together.
Okay,
But I know one thing, if I did my job like Judy's doing hers, I would have got fired a long time ago.
Yeah.
Just to
Well-
make another point, Savory. Yeah, that's all.
Yep. I know. That's the second time I've heard that today.
Well,
Also,
I hope that's not a pattern of the Hillwood company.
it hasn't been as of yet, as of late.
Yeah,
Everything I've ever asked them for, it's been forthcoming.
Okay,
This
And-
particular piece of the puzzle, You know, Judy said she wasn't getting information. Rick said he was sending her the information. I don't know whether the analysis has been, you know, I was told at least 3 months ago that the draft copy had been sent to Mac. And now I will speak to him.
Yeah.
Um, And just one other thing I wanted to throw in there, I'm probably forgetting other things, but one other thing that going back to the discussion about the needs of the emergency service personnel across all different avenues.
Mhm.
Mark did say that he believes we're in a stronger negotiating position on those items prior to the town meeting than we would be afterwards. And there's probably some validity to that.
There's some validity to that, but again, the town meeting is only opening the door to a possibility of a different type of project. It's not a definition of a project. Everything still is going to go through the special permit process, and at any stage of the game, the police, fire, EMS can say no.
Yeah.
And they know that.
Right, but the questions that they all raised today is really really a microcosm of what we're going to be up against at town meeting. And
Yeah,
I
that's
saw that today, and I mentioned that. And you know, the fact that we don't think it's important doesn't mean it's going to go away.
No,
So-
no, no, no. No,
so,
I believe it to be important.
Yeah.
And they're probably, I'll speak to them on Thursday, but they're probably just beginning to get the idea of what if there are 500 more people and 1,000 more cars. I mean, to Mark Dufley, Chief Dufley, it means possible traffic accidents or mitigating, you know, emergency services with industrial accidents when somebody falls and hurts themselves or something like that.
Right.
I think both of them go. So, nope, all good points. We'll see what happens on Thursday. Hopefully we'll make some progress on at
Yeah,
least discussing needs.
Right,
For
and I think that one other thing, Sarah was on the phone, as I mentioned, she called in from home, and she was she just brought up the point that that this zoning article still has to be given select board approval before it appears on a warrant. And she has a lot of questions and concerns about this project that she doesn't feel comfortable voting on as a select board member until she gets the answers. And, you know, that's potentially problematic.
What's her questions?
Well,
Traffic.
it's traffic. It's whether we need to have a distribution center or is there another use that would be better to the town? You know, and she was speaking as one member of the select board, and it was just she and Mark as being the two representatives. But it's something to be duly aware of.
Mhm.
That you know, maybe we need to go into the select board again and find out exactly the types of things they want to know before they put this on the warrant. Or
Absolutely.
vote to put it on the warrant, and
Yeah.
so we can address those issues and not have it, you know, have it rejected 2 weeks before the vote.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%, I agree. There were questions when you were there, you answered what they said.
Mhm.
She had a different attitude then, I remember seeing it. Jen also. Bob Elvin seemed to be okay with it. He didn't really have any of that kind of a concern. And the other gentleman, I don't know his name,
Yeah.
he questioned it and you told him to go and read the MIPA study. That was that. And by the way, which study are we looking at? I went on the website and Sharon, you mentioned 2019. I didn't see anything like that.
Wasn't the traffic study?
Is
in
it not on
20
the website? Is it not on the website? I couldn't find what you were talking about.
Which
I have
website?
it on our,
The Carver website.
Oh,
you know, I
okay.
don't look for anything on there. I have it all on a pile
No.
on my desk.
Well, it was something that
Yeah.
would have been put up earlier by Deneen.
Well, wasn't it the 20, what is it, 2017, 2018, the MIPA study that gave the idea of what truckload we could, that kind of a distribution center would either generate or handle?
Yes.
Isn't that the study we're using?
Well, I don't know, but I remember hearing that, oh yeah, MIPA said, because it was done early, way, way early than Route 44 had any concept of what they were gonna put up there. They
It
said, oh
really-
yeah, when we get to that point, MIPA said, it'll be discussed. And I remember that, and then it also said it would be based on the, whatever we put in there.
Right.
So I'm kind of concerned on this MIPA. I want to get the right one.
Well, I've got a 4-inch pile in front of me here, and I will be happy to go through it tomorrow. See what I can find. But that's the one we're kind of, using as a base. And then as the project develops, I think the idea of what the traffic will be is different from what the traffic might be. And right now we're kind of dealing with what it could be, might be.
Should be.
Know,
Well, I want to know the right one. I'm going to start reading if you give me the right one, because I
Okay.
remember, I've been on this project for a long time.
I know, you should know which one it is.
It's only one there. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it was missed, not put up correctly, if something's missing.
No, I think it's just buried in there.
Okay.
Pat, did you have any other thoughts on today's meeting?
On today's meeting, I'll wait till I'll couple that with the, when we report on what we met with the town officials, when Paul and I met with them on the
Okay.
next item.
That's a ways down. All right, and Savory, you saw Stephen Cole today?
I did. We had a Zoom meeting with PAC TV to talk about our videos. I don't know if you were aware of this, but the person that we started out with at PAC TV has been replaced by someone a little bit more senior to take better control of this. So I met with her on Zoom today for the first time. That doesn't mean they haven't been working on stuff. But we ironed out a lot of her. I answered a lot of her questions, and we got a little bit more specific on what it is we want to do with the videos. It looks like we're going to be doing 3 different videos. There's going to be an intro video that's probably going to be ready around February 1st. It's going to be about 2 minutes long, and basically it's an introduction to the project to be put on the homepage of the website, our website, when it's ready. And it's just going to be a, welcome to Carver, etc. This is what's being proposed. And it's information. It's not any kind of endorsement or engagement. It's purely informational. Going to be about 2 minutes long. Then we're planning to do a second video that is a little bit longer. That is, we're hoping to have a couple of residents from the town who are held in high esteem, but are not involved on any committees or commissions right now to talk about the project. And that would be a little bit longer, a little bit more detailed, getting into more of the nuts and bolts of what the project is. And that would be something that we would most likely present at the planning board's public hearing in March. And that would flesh it out a little bit more, get other non-RDA, non-planning board members up on the screen talking about the project a little bit. And then the third video would be really a promotional video as to why this is good, with even more people and perhaps even less well-known faces around town just kind of man on the street type thing. And we're hoping that we will be allowed to play that at town meeting.
Okay,
Sort of as a break, and there's just a regular reading of all the things, saying, look at this, prior to the vote. So we
Just
talked about. we
just
talked
a
about-
side question. Who
Yeah.
controls what we can show at town meeting? Is it the moderator?
I
Yeah,
believe so.
Okay,
I believe it is.
Okay.
One other thing, just backtracking, that middle video, the one we're going to show at the public hearing, that's also something that we could, we talked about taking it on the road, going to the clubhouses at
Oh.
South Meadow Village and Cranberry Village, and showing it there, and maybe having an informational meeting at the library for anybody else who missed the public hearing. And
Oh, okay.
it's not a public hearing, it's a public viewing. And
Right.
and a Q&A session, but this is something that would be, obviously portable. And we would link that to the website as well for those people when that's ready. And that we're expecting to have ready at the end of February, early March.
okay.
you-
that-
when
That's
do
a
you
good
plan
idea.
on, when do you plan on making these little tours?
It would be after the public hearing, after the planning board public hearing.
It'd be a very busy 3 weeks between the middle of March and April 12th,
Okay,
whatever time frame we have in there. But yeah, those are all really good ideas, especially maybe the little public forums at town, at the public library. We can have better views of plans, that people might be able to, can see better and relate to a little bit better as opposed to seeing something up on the screen, looking at a map up on the screen. If you're not used to
Right.
looking at maps, this would be better. So,
And we talked a little bit about the flavor of the voiceover. Whether we wanted it to be a commercial. And my feeling, and Stephen concurred when we were talking to Donna at PAC TV, is I said that I wanted the voiceover to be like your neighbor talking over the fence.
yeah,
Not someone saying, buy a used car today. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to send a couple of
samples.
test videos
Okay,
for us to look at. And also they're looking for still shots of Carver that show the beauty and the friendliness of the town.
Okay.
I've got some nice nature shots. I've got, all seasons
Mhm.
that I'm going to share with them, but things like King Richard's Fair and
Old Home Day.
Old Home Day, the Carver Night Out,
Oh, yeah.
any sports, at the schools or Little League, things like that. So if anybody knows any photographers in town well enough to get a couple of favors, we're not going to pay for use. I know there's some photographers in town, professional, but there are a lot of them want royalties, or at least a byline or credit, photo credit. We could probably do a photo credit. But I'm going to go search through all my Carver pictures. I've got quite a few, and send whatever I can. But if anybody knows anybody who's a very good photographer in town who'd be willing to share some of their beauty shots of the town,
Okay,
let me know.
okay, I'll look into that.
is Area 58, do they take still shots?
I don't know the answer to that. There are a lot of people on Facebook. A lot of people post pictures on Facebook around Carver. And I don't.
was almost
don't
gonna
know that.
ask to be asked for people to send their pictures in.
No.
I don't want anybody getting mad if we didn't use theirs.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to do that either. And it's not. It's really.
Yeah,
It-
it's a lot of
it's-
work.
It's reaching out, it's reaching out to people who we know do that and asking if they'd be willing to give a shot or two to the town. So if anybody knows of anybody or has a good relationship with any of the professional photographers around town,
Okay.
let me
And
know.
if anybody's listening to this, call me.
Yeah.
So-
Do that too.
The only one
so-
I can think of,
Those are
and she doesn't live here anymore, but it was Nancy Green.
Yeah,
She lived here for a long time and she took photos. I would say, if you want to ask her, I don't,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know her. So, I mean, I know where she used to live, but I don't know her at all. I've never met her.
well, she's on Facebook. I follow her. Let me ask her. I'll ask her.
All right.
okay. We'll be happy to give her a photo credit.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so that's where we were with that. It's in a pretty good place. I was very impressed with this woman, Donna.
Oh, good.
You can always tell someone when they ask good questions. So, and she did. She asked a lot of really good questions. So,
And are you following up, meeting with them again, or?
we're doing a lot of stuff by email. She's going to condense my script a little bit to fit in the 2-minute window.
Okay,
And she's going to send me a list of the kinds of still shots they're looking for.
Okay.
And all that's going to happen tomorrow morning. And she's hoping to get our approval on the script by Monday or Tuesday of next week, so she can have something ready by February 1st
okay,
for all of us to look at, and then we can, Paul Kelly will send that to you, and that'll go on the homepage. So, or link to it at least.
the link to it. And where are we on the FAQs?
The FAQs are in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
I got, we added back after the meeting on, with Owen and Pat and Mark the other day, we decided we were gonna put the eminent domain question back in, but not, but because we're unsure about that one parcel,
Yeah,
we're just going to say that as of now, there has not been any
Okay.
taking by eminent domain. So-
I've not had the question answered by either George or Mac. Mac is trying to get the answer from George. George has not answered me. So
Okay, yeah,
I
and
don't, I don't know whether it's dead in the water or it was just like maybe something that might happen with the family requesting it.
all right, so on the website, I don't have the agenda in front of me. Are we talking about the website now too? Is this all outreach?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The homepage is pretty much done. The location page is done. The project details page is probably just going to be a placeholder for now because we don't really have that much. We can put something in there. The FAQs are done. There's just some, if you click on the tab at the top of the FAQs, there's a pull down menu that has tabs you can do for specific categories. Like there's a town meeting vote category, a bylaw category, a location category, a project details category. So you can, and a general category. So if you click on general, you get all 21 questions. If you click on zoning bylaw or zoning meeting, town meeting bylaw change, you get only the questions that are related to that. So that you can cull down your search. You don't have to scroll through everything. You have that ability if you want it, but if you have something specific you're looking for, you can click on that and go directly to it. And those are anywhere between 5 and 15 questions per category based on what's there. We still have to, on the FAQ page, Paul Kelly did get a Gmail account for us, which is northcarverproject@gmail.com.
Okay,
Paul, you and I can talk later on tonight. I got to figure out, I mean, you keep asking where this should go. And we have to, I'm not exactly sure how that all works. So I think that, you know, members of the RDA need to have access to that, to be able to go in there
It's
and.
not a pressing question. It's just more of somewhere along the line, we need to definitely, if we start promoting that is an active email, then we need to just have the procedures behind it. That's all. So
Okay,
it's not pressing as in, okay, it needs to be done tonight type of thing.
no, I
Is it
understand that,
just
but
a
I,
matter of having a password for all, the same password for all of us? I'm just
yes,
guessing.
it probably would be.
Yeah.
We've all got to be, I mean, we've got to be able to access where these emails are and look at them and make sure that, you know, that I'm gonna probably take the lead on at least
Yeah.
collecting the questions, and if we know the answers, we can add them, or if we don't know the answers, we can find them out. And what I would do is I would acknowledge to everybody here that these are the emails I've answered or that I've collected. Even though they may not all be answered yet, these are the ones that I've collected. So you don't have to worry that they were being forgotten or neglected.
And Savory, would this, and Paul, would this be an email that I might email from SharCC to Gmail and I would get the direct answer back? Or is this going to be something that goes to the website is kind of like you can ask a question and then the answer comes back to the website?
The answer will always be the emails. I think what we're going to do is when you fill out the email form, the header of the email will state that this email will not be answered directly, that within a
Okay.
week, and I think that was the timeline that Paul put on there, within a week that this question and its answer will appear on this website.
Okay, okay, good.
And Courtney from Consensus is going to be setting up a Facebook page for us,
God
which
bless
will
her.
also have the same functionality of, you know, whenever something is posted on that page, that I and others we can make as many administrators as we want, can just answer with the plate.
Okay,
That your answers can be found here.
do we have any kind of a tentative launch date?
I think we're close to being ready. I think that we can probably do it, if not by Friday, certainly by Monday. Paul, do you agree? You think we're close enough?
Yeah, I mean, structurally, everything is there. It's just more of, once it goes live, then it's kind of hard to pull back. So that's all.
Right.
So
Well,
yes.
I looked through
Yes.
it today,
Yep.
and I know everything other than the tabs on the right-hand side of the FAQ page underneath the text. The clicking on those didn't work on all of them. Up on the upper, when you did the pull-down menu on the tab along the top, that worked, but the 5 or 6 that were on the right.
Yeah, that wasn't, yeah, I have, because there was so many changes to all the different pages
Okay,
and structure, visually and structurally, how so many things have changed. I didn't want to set a link that was going to send them to something that was old.
okay.
So I was
That
waiting.
makes sense.
I was
That makes
waiting for
sense.
the dust to settle and then.
Right.
Then
Well,
we-
once
then
we
we-
get the eminent domain question in those 5 categories and that's ready, then that's it for the changes for the FAQs. So then we can
Okay.
make those links work. So I would say by
went
the
on
end of
the
this
site.
week.
Okay, I went on the site, I found 2 small issues and I sent them to Paul Kelly. He said he was gonna forward them to you, Savory. I want to tell you, the English and the language that was used on answering the FAQs, I think is remarkable.
Well, it was a joint effort. It was between all of us on the, you know, it was between Stephen Cole, the people from Consensus. They did a good job, the people of
Right.
Consensus,
The only,
and I.
okay,
for
the thing
myself.
and I truly enjoyed that timeline. It was an eye opener.
Mhm.
But the bottom part of the timeline, those little things that they were like in a background. They didn't light up. They didn't do anything.
We're
The only
still-
thing I could do was on the right-hand side, I kept forwarding and reading and forwarding and reading. And when there was a picture and so forth, but down the bottom underneath it, that was supposed to show me the various ways or paths that was taken. that didn't seem to work. It was dull.
You had to click on that. You had to click on each little pink box and it would bring up that page into the main
Well,
page.
I'm not sure if the technology, in other words, my computer maybe doesn't have that technology. That's the only thing I could think of, because it really didn't work that way.
We'll
I-
directly look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we will. We can get Courtney to
Yeah.
look at that. I looked at it, I tried it and it seemed to work for me, so.
The
but
other
it's
thing
something we
that,
can certainly look at.
just for one of the recommendations that came from one of the people from Consensus is that potentially that little grid chart, to be able to put that at the top as opposed to the bottom. And, you know, that's what Courtney is recommending. But whichever, it
Yes.
doesn't matter to me. I can embed it into the code wherever we need it. But
Yeah.
yes, it does give a functionality. And Joanna, I don't know if you saw, right now it's looking like that timeline will be on 2 different pages. It'll be on the home page, and then it'll probably be, I don't know where the other page is. I think it's the
Location.
location.
It
I
is
can
It'll
go
be at
back.
the bottom of that as well.
Are you gonna make any changes to that? Because I'll go back and try it, but, and I'll call you,
Yes.
Paul, and you
Yes.
can, and I'll take a picture of what I'm seeing so you can see what I'm seeing.
We'll work out the technical
Yeah.
part of it. It
I've
is-
done that.
I'm
Yes.
very picky. I'll be right on it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, if it's very
Uh,
picky, then talk to Savory.
Yeah.
Well, you said you're gonna pass all the information back to
No,
Savory. Wait a minute.
he's the point person. He's the one that has been getting no sleep over this. I'm getting a
All
little
right.
bit of sleep.
Then you fix my issues, Savory. You
Yes.
fix them.
All right.
I went through my stacks of revised FAQs today as I was going through my paperwork, and I just got, they should have been in order, and I just got them mixed up. So I'll just take the last one.
In addition to
Um,
that, if I could, just for the website stuff, just to clarify that the domain name is all set up. I am working behind the scenes on what's called SEO, which is a search engine optimization. So when people start searching through Google and otherwise, it's going to take a few weeks for it to go through the system, but I'm trying to maximize that as much as possible as we go as
Oh,
well. So there's stuff behind the curtain as well.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, you know, I can't imagine there are that many North Carver projects, so it'll probably lead its way up to the top pretty quickly.
And then somewhere along the line, we'll need to link up the website, the town website, and put that link in there. But once it goes live, not
But not till it goes
necessarily,
live.
Right.
You can move it to
Yeah.
there.
we don't want
I-
to do that early. That's all.
No.
Yeah, what I'd like to do, Paul, if we can, and is have this ready to go on Friday, and we'll send out an email to everybody who's in the meeting. So that would include all of us here, all of them at Consensus, and Stephen, and just say, okay, this is what we want to launch on Monday. If you can please look at it, it's going to be over the weekend, but the Pats aren't playing, so.
Hey,
Good news, bad news. So,
Yeah, good news, bad news. So, so that we can hopefully get this launched on Monday and then put the link on the Carver page to it.
okay.
All right. So I think that's where we are.
So Paul, is that the last of the updates you have, or do you have anything else to add? Nope.
Muted.
You're
Muted.
muted.
the only other parts on it is just to realize that it is organic, that sometimes when we do get new videos from PAC TV or otherwise, or if we get new either information or updates, those will continue to go into the website as we
Right.
go. So
Okay.
it will get nothing but better, but technically Joanna's going to work on all the bugs for us.
Yeah, you can count on me, honey.
Yeah, I saw the
Now,
one
you
about
know,
the link to
is
the
there-
map.
Is there a place anywhere in there where we can put like public forum opportunities or dates, dates you should look for? Like a public hearing date, or will that just be a banner head of some kind? Is
We
there-
could
is there-
advertise it. We should advertise it on Carver, the Carver site with a calendar also.
Well,
Whatever
yeah,
whatever you
yeah,
decide.
not everybody gets to that, so, and this would be
On
something
a technical,
specifically interested to people specifically interested in this.
on
So,
a technical point of view, yes, it can be done. It comes down to, you know, the timeline for the release and Savory and we just want to make sure we get it right. But yes, on a technical end, I'm sure we can do it.
okay, I just,
And what we could do, the timeline that Courtney has prepared is up to now. It does not go into the future. But we can ask her to amend that so that we
Okay.
can add the next 2 months and put in key dates there, so it can be found
that,
there.
that would be helpful because we want to be able to have, you know, a calendar. If we end up with 2 dates at the library on 2 different days, a weekday morning and a Saturday afternoon or something, we want to be able to have those in the website. And then we'll advertise them as best we can, but at least that should be a point of reference.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, let me just write that down. Okay.
since you brought it up tonight that we might be doing things like that, I want to have the opportunity to advertise them. I mean, I don't know if we, weather-wise, whether we can get one public forum to be open to the site for anybody by that time who might want to visit it. Just come on down. So that's another thing that depends entirely on weather. Okay, so we have, we're gonna go in front of the planning board next Tuesday. Is that
Yes,
next? Okay,
yeah, it
that-
is a week from tonight, the 25th, and it's going to be Paul Costas and myself and Stephen Cole. And it's basically just, it's less of a more informal than what we did with the select board. It's really to talk about, you know, what we need to do in order to present this to town meeting. And of course, answer any questions the planning board has, but I'm sure they fully realize that they have the special permitting process ahead of them and site review plans ahead of them. And that there's a lot that's going to fall their way moving forward. But this is basically just to talk about getting the vote.
you know what, I will confirm that tomorrow. I don't think we have a time yet on their agenda, but I didn't check for the agenda next week. But I'll make sure that they each have a copy. I'll send them the PDF of the proposed zoning bylaws so they can at least look at them. And
Okay.
have them ahead of time. I think I probably sent them to them, but I don't know where they are. So I'll make sure they have those. I have a zoning meeting that night, so I will be downstairs in room 4 at the same time. So I appreciate Savory and Paul going. And again, if we had a third person going, then that becomes a joint meeting of the RDA and the planning board, and that just adds an extra layer of, I'd like to keep this informal, just,
Yeah.
you know, come
So
in.
it'll be Paul and myself.
Yeah,
Is that Area 58? Do they?
Area 58, they don't film that one live, but they do film that. Because
Oh,
that'll be
okay.
up in room 1. I'll be down in the basement in room 4.
Right.
So they're
if you
gonna
hear-
be in room 1 that night?
The
Planning
planning
board.
board meets in room 1,
That's the one that goes live.
but they don't always carry it live.
Well, they should.
Well, I'll speak with Rich. They're negotiating his contract as we speak. I believe. my
Thank you
husband
very
is there.
much. Thank you very much. Yes, it
I'll
should
ma-
be.
I'll mention that to him.
We want to be live.
But I
There is,
appreciate Paul going.
there is no agenda posted yet for next week's meeting.
Okay, they said they were probably gonna, Bruce said they were gonna probably put us on early, but I will. Does Jill Martin take care of them too? Because I'll email everybody tomorrow with the zoning bylaws, the most recent one, and that's, and what we're basically looking for is, you know, if they've mapped out the dates in March for their public hearings and where, I mean, we should have a discussion as to where we want to be. If they have 3 days, do we want to be first, second, or third? Do we want to be closer to town meeting? We don't want to be too far away from town meeting. If there's any kind of rabble that we need to address, or not rabble, but any questions that we need to address, then we need to be able to have time to do it. Is it just to their discretion? Does it depend on what number we are in the articles?
It does, I think, but it all, that depends on what other articles are on the warrant. And we
Okay,
don't know that yet.
I don't know that yet. I haven't seen anything yet.
No, so you just brought up a good point, and I think something we can discuss quickly now, and if we don't reach a consensus, that's fine. But do we want the public hearing to be earlier rather than later? Do we want it farther away from town meeting, or do we want it real close? My feeling is that we should have it as soon as possible so that it can raise questions.
That we
People
can get
watch
answered.
it.
Yeah,
People can watch it and bring those questions to the website and get answers, as opposed to bringing them up on the floor of town meeting.
that's
think
a really good point, because there's a lot of concerns that we need to be mindful of. And, the public hearing will be the best opportunity, as opposed to town meeting, but the best opportunity to be able to have the answers that we know, or be able to get the information thereafter.
Yeah, so
And
the
if their third meeting is 3 weeks before town meeting, then, I'm not sure where Easter is, if that's in there or not. But and that's before, it'll be before break, the school break. Yeah, I think earlier that is better.
Does everybody
They
else
offer an
agree?
alternative, they offer an alternative point of view.
Sure.
So thank you. One of the things that we do at my office when we have situations with clients and we're trying to work through, how do we message something and when do we message it? One of the things we talk about is the more time we give people to think about something, even once the answers are out there, the more time we give them to drum up concerns that they may not have had if we had shortened the gap. So devil's advocate, if nothing else, there may be value to going closer, only so that we could take time to gather questions. Questions could be answered at the hearing, and then there's less time between getting those answers and having to act on those answers. So people spend less time sort of spinning it in their own mind and then going, wait a second, what I heard, and sort of reframing it. They're more apt to say, I heard someone say A, I'm going with A, I'm going to act on A. Just an alternative point of view.
I get that. I think in a certain context that this is a little bit apples and oranges to that, because when you get to that endpoint, and I understand that having only 3 weeks between the public hearing and the town meeting, and I understand in your business that when you're ready to present what it is that you're presenting, you're probably presenting it quickly and in front of people who are needed to make a snap decision. And you're probably presenting only to a few people, whatever it is you're doing. This is presenting to town meeting. This is 100 people, and all it's going to take at town meeting is one person to ask one question that starts a snowball effect.
Mhm.
So, my feeling is, if I don't want this to become a debate on the floor of the high school auditorium. So my feeling, and I'm not diminishing your theory, but my feeling is that if we have 2 or 3 more weeks to get those questions in and put up on the website, that eliminates them from being asked on the floor of the high school, which could start a snowball effect. So but I'm open to whatever anybody feels.
One of the things that we have really tried hard to do for more than a year now is to stay open and transparent. The information is there as best we have it. If it changes, we get that to people. Our meetings, of course, have all been broadcast. So I think the idea of having it earlier rather than the tail end is a little more valid, because that will give us the opportunity to hear more questions. You know, it's really is the first public hearing. We don't have too many people attend our meetings. And that's really the first public hearing that we will hear from voters. I mean, we're going to have heard from the planning board. We know from the chiefs, we know from the select board, North Carver Water District. We've just had these small discussions with small groups, but this will be the first time we actually address the people who will be sitting in the seats. And the more opportunity we have to answer those questions, even if it takes 1 or 2 weeks, probably the better. So I think, if we're on the front end of their meetings, that will be good, but they ultimately decide where we go. So.
Pat, any thought on that?
Well, I think that, I'm going to go back to, talk about this again. The more that we can do to create a comfort level to the people in the seats, the better off we're going to be. There's going to be debate on town floor. You know that's going to happen. We would like to probably minimize it. And again, the more information that we can get to people to allay their fears, give them, and I'm going to get into a confidence factor later. But I think in these circumstances, and I understand Paul's position, and I appreciate that. I think in this type of a situation, the sooner that we can do something, the better.
Joanna?
Well, I concur with what Pat just said. Are you going to be having enough time to take those questions from the public meeting and putting them on the website as well?
Well, some of
Yes.
them we may be able to answer right there. It may be just
Right.
somebody who hasn't accessed the website, is unfamiliar. Maybe we can have a little banner with the website URL there, so that people can see it. But maybe there may be some we can answer right then and there. But again, I think we're basically talking to our customers. So it'll be a case of talking to the people who are going to be coming to town meeting. Anyone who goes to a public hearing is bound to show up at town meeting.
Definitely.
And if there are questions asked at the public hearing, whether we can, that haven't been asked before, whether we have an answer right then, or whether we have to find out the answer, those questions will go on the website.
Okay.
All right, so that anybody in the future can get that answer as well if they have the same question. So the answer is, if the question's never been asked before, it will make its way to the website with the answer. If we have the answer at the meeting, we'll give it. If we don't have it, we'll say, check the website in a week. But yes, we'll have time to do that.
Okay.
We'll have more information on that next Tuesday after your meeting, right?
Yeah.
So can we move on to Pat's comments on the fire and safety and Savory? No, Pat and Paul. Paul sent me his
Yep.
earlier.
I'm listening.
I want to just start off here for a second, then I want to Paul to jump in on this, if that's okay with you, Paul.
Sure.
I'm going to repeat a couple of comments that I made today at the working group meeting. And that is the meeting that we had on Friday with Paul and I. Paul hosted, and we had Mark Dufely, Craig Weston, Tom Walsh, and Mike Ryan in for just a general and was more informal than anything else conversation as to what we knew, which isn't much, and that's part of the issue, and what they would like to know, which depends upon what we know. So we're in one of these vicious circles here. But the two takeaways that I had from that meeting, and this is what I spoke to about this morning, is number one, to a person very, very concerned that of the lack of a better term, lack of information that we have, specific information. When we talk about, traffic, when we talk about numbers of people there, when we talk about what's going to be there, hazardous waste, or hazardous storage, or whatever. We can't answer these things with any degree of certainty. And I think that's going to be a big problem at a town meeting if we can't give a comfort level and a confidence to the people that are actually going to be doing the voting, raising their hands or not. And we need the 2/3 vote. This just hangs over me like a big, dark, heavy cloud. The other thing was coming back from the group to a member. They want to be supportive of this. They want the town to have this. Can they, with the proper degree of confidence and with a confident look in their face, stand up at town meeting and say, yes, I agree with what Hillwood says and does, and yes, we know that that's going to happen. At this point, they can't make that that type of commitment because, again, they don't have the information, and they don't have the confidence, and neither will, and all we got to do is have the smallest falter there, whether it's a look on someone's face or whether it's a, well, we don't know if we can do this. That's killer. That's just going to be a killer. And again, I beat the drum on this. I beat this thing like a dead horse, but I think it's so important that the people that are going to vote need to vote, and it's again 2/3, with a degree of confidence that what they hear and what they see is what they're going to get. And then, Paul, I'll go to ask you now for some of your comments and observations.
Thank you. I mean, I agree with what Pat just said, pretty much straight across. A few things, as Sharon can tell you, I sent pretty detailed notes thinking I wouldn't be here tonight, probably too detailed, but I'll try to be brief in my rundown of what I was hearing. The number one thing that I think to keep in mind is that people at town meeting, I don't know if most of them will be concerned with the 65-foot change on its surface. I've heard people say things that still make me feel like the number one thing people are going to be looking to is, well, if I vote no, this doesn't happen, nothing will happen. And that, I think, is the biggest concern. Ancillary problems, and I'm not saying ancillary to diminish them, traffic is a concern, right? But ancillary problems are going to creep in. And those are the things people are really going to care about. You might have a few folks here and there who care about the sight lines of the water tower. I don't think on the whole, most people are really going to be concerned about how much of the building is going to be visible. I won't say nobody. There are people who will be. One thing I did notice is that Chief Weston talked towards the end before I had to leave the meeting for another commitment, but he mentioned that in the beginning, he had taken an approach that sort of went along with the process. And he said, well, this is going to happen and I'll sort of let it happen and be a little more reactive, let's say. And he felt at one point like he switched to a more proactive stance. I wouldn't say he felt like he feels super confident. As Pat alluded to, there's a lot of unknowns, but he feels better, like he's more a part of the process now, I heard him say. And in doing so, he feels like he's, doing his part to try to do right by the town. I feel like Chief Duvalli has had a little bit of that conversation, not nearly as much, obviously. And the other two, really none at all. And I think there are things, we talked earlier about in the meeting, when we need to move to 2 ambulances day and night. Chief Duvalli talked about 3 real things: more training, more equipment, more personnel. I don't know how far into the process with Hillwood is considered, too late. But I feel like those three gentlemen also really would benefit from the same sort of mitigation discussions that Chief Weston's been able to have. And in doing so, maybe be able to allay some of their concerns. Is there enough time before town meeting? Don't know. There's a lot of unknowns though, as we said, and one thing I want to bring up is illustrative. And I apologize if you guys can hear the Alvin and the Chipmunks concert in the background there. But one thing I'll bring up is illustrative is sort of what I'm talking about is, Chief Dufely said at one point, can we stop trucks from traveling on Route 58? Well, we know that the answer is no, they can't do that. But what they can do is set up way stations or checkpoints, and they can make it so that the truck drivers don't want to travel on Route 58 because every time they drive down past wherever in town, they would get stopped. They don't want to deal with that. Could we do that today? No, we don't have the people who are truck officers. We don't have the equipment to do that. But I think there are some things out there like that we as a town may want to consider. But I don't think that the other emergency management groups have had enough exposure directly to Hillwood to be able to talk about how they would do that without it. I'll use the phrase that was used by those gentlemen, without burdening the taxpayer. And if we don't get this done at town meeting and those mitigation plans go away and suddenly we're left with whatever can be built as of right, we as taxpayers may get left holding the entire bag, which would be too bad. And I think people need to really need to understand that if you vote no, that's okay. But what's possibly the best deal for the town, I'm not just talking about tax revenue on a structure, I'm talking about help with mitigation, could go away, and another deal like that may not be forthcoming, and you may end up with a bus depot, and that might be that.
I have some comments. Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Okay. The 20,000 that the fire chief is using, that's town. Those people you're talking about are town, and they should be having access to that money as well. They should be able to get consultants, just as the chief has, and so forth and so on. So you need to talk it up ASAP.
Well, they're
Well, we're
meeting with
meeting
Hillwood
Thursday.
next week.
Well,
We're meeting
whoever-
Thursday.
Either Savory,
Thursday, sorry.
whoever's you guys, you gotta talk that up now. Paul Costas, are
think-
you going to that meeting?
No.
I don't think
Savory
I
and
don't think I
I-
know about a meeting on Thursday, but next Tuesday I'll be at something.
No,
Well-
Savory and I.
Sharon and I are going Thursday. We're
well,
going to the meeting with emergency services.
Savory and Sharon, you're well qualified. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been dealing with this 20,000 on our side when I initially had to go through all that legal schmiegel stuff. So it's all available, and it probably needs to be raised up another 20,000, and maybe they need to have their own little, kitty or whatever, but they should be able to do exactly what the chief has been doing, hiring a consultant, putting a list together if you need more men or more trucks or more ambulances, just like the chief's doing. That's what they need to do.
Yeah, I think that what they need to do is they need to find someone who can find comparable projects and get counts of employees and counts of trucks. And talk to the Chief Dufely this morning did say he was going to contact who did he say, Kingston and
No, North Andover and Lakeville.
and Lakeville, which both have large places in them, and talk to them about what they've had to do from the police standpoint and what and some of the issues that they've confronted since these places opened.
If they
That's
need
good.
professional help, then that professional help, just like the fire chief has gotten, they need to have it as well. And if it entertains more money in that kitty, well, that Mr. Hillwood or whatever, that needs to be known to them.
Well, I'm sure that after
the.
I'm sure after the chief speaks to the other two towns that he'll have a better idea of what his needs are. Not from a standpoint of personnel and equipment, but of whether he thinks he needs to have that consultancy. And so I think that when we meet on Thursday, basically, this is emergency services meeting with Hillwood on Thursday.
Okay.
Sharon and
okay,
I are
good.
going there basically to listen and to interject when asked to, but not to present.
Okay,
Um,
very
So,
good. Yep.
I think when Chief Weston got involved early on, it's because at that point, we knew we couldn't fight a fire at 65 feet. He knew, and he basically told me at one point, he doesn't know what he didn't know. And brought in, the fire specialist that Hillwood has been paying for. And as he got deeper into the information, he also said he didn't have time to do all the research himself. And as he got deeper into the information and a plan formulated, he was able to get a really good grasp of it and move forward at his own pace and his own comfort level. And I think with police and emergency, it may not be as equipment driven, but it's certainly going to be personnel and training driven.
I was surprised, sorry to interrupt, I was surprised to hear how equipment driven it might be. I mean, we might need another
really?
ambulance,
Oh,
and from police, in order to deal with the trucks, it sounds like it's not just pull up in your cruiser, like there's specific equipment to check the weight and to do the inspections and to be able to handle
on the way
that.
station. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that was
Yeah.
interesting too is Chief Duvalli mentioned that, when you think active shooter, you think major event, but really active shooter at a warehouse like this is often disgruntled employee who didn't get promoted and shows up with a handgun, and that's its own type of issue. And, knowing how to enter that building, or as he put it, hold that building until other
Yeah.
people could arrive. That's a training and equipment issue that right now he's like, we've got the schools covered, but we don't have that huge type of warehouse, either from a personnel training or equipment perspective, covered at all. And I was actually really surprised to hear him say he goes to these conferences and people who present from small towns will say, yeah, we put one of those buildings up in our town and we thought that'll never happen. It's insert small town here. It happens. I was actually pretty surprised.
The idea when he raised the issue of wanting, active shooter, what was their plan for an active shooter in a building that large, kind of stopped me in my tracks because I had not thought of that. But you're right, it's a disgruntled employee or the husband of the boyfriend or somebody who shows up there. And I really had no issue with him delving as deep into that as he wanted to, when my own little granddaughter in her elementary school in Plymouth has been in an active shooter situation last year. So that it hits home and it hits hard. And you want to know that your police and safety and is there for you.
100% agreed.
Yeah. I think if they haven't actually had a solid face-to-face with Hillwood, I think on Thursday we'll have a lot of those questions answered.
Yeah.
Or at least started to. And if they want a consultant, I believe it's known that they can have one.
Right. I want to go back. I just want to ask Pat something on the first point that he made about the fact that the emergency services want to know a lot of information. And you brought up what's going to be in the building. Is it going to be hazardous materials? Is it going to be what are going to be the contents of the building? And that's a valid question, but in order to really answer that now without knowing who the tenant is, you would have to go with the worst case scenario across any potential tenant. Because, for instance, if it's a Target or a Walmart, you may have 3,000 gallons, individual gallons of motor oil, that gets distributed to the stores or gets put in a small truck and brought directly to a person's house. If it's Wayfair, you're going to have a lot of furniture that probably burns hot and hard to put out. If it's going to be Chewy or something like that, you've got dog and cat food, which is a lot different than gallons of oil. So the question is, how far do you go in trying to get this information when you don't know who the end user is going to be, and when the vote of the zoning will determine who that end user is?
And just those were just thinking out loud type type
I get it.
issues too savory, but again, I just go back to what I just think is probably the most important thing that we've got, that we can do is give a level of confidence to those people that are going to vote. Now, we may not be able to give them specific information, but can we give them something that gives them a level of comfort in that they can vote to support this, and take
But-
away that level, that question or that discomfort factor that says, you know something, I can't vote yes on this. I think that's the big issue, because there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be answered later.
All
But
right,
can-
so
can we-
I get that. I don't disagree with you at all. My question is, and I'll see if I can figure out a way to put this. If, for instance, Hillwood did not need any zoning changes at all to do what they wanted. If we didn't have an article at town meeting, and we didn't have any need for an article at town meeting, and they were just going to build a 1.8 million square foot facility at 40 feet with 20-foot lampposts, all of these questions that you're bringing up would be taken care of in the special permit process. So
And-
why is it different now? Why should these questions now be asked at a zoning meeting? Because if the zoning thing doesn't pass, then they're gonna go to 40 feet and all these questions are gonna
Yeah.
come back up.
I didn't say to answer the questions. It said, okay, so you're right. If it weren't for the 65-foot thing, that this thing would just go on and it wouldn't make any difference, but it's not. It's the 65-foot question, or like the $64,000 question. It's the 65-foot question. Yes or no on 65 feet. And then that brings up all these other issues.
Yeah,
If
Yes.
it wasn't 65 feet, no problem. Because there wouldn't be all these other questions, and they would
No,
be.
I disagree. Those
And-
questions would be there. It could
But
be a
they-
40-foot,
but-
$1.8 million, I mean,
But
8
they,
million
but they,
square foot distribution center with that as many trucks and an active
Yeah.
shooter.
but they couldn't stop it. Now they can.
could I try to
Well,
put this
they
a little
can't-
bit of a
They
different
can
way?
only stop
Sorry.
the 65. They can't
They can
stop,
only stop the height. They can't stop the
they can
project.
only stop the height. They
Agreed.
can't stop a project.
I think though,
That's right.
what we're losing sight of is it's not the 65-foot question as a question. It's the fact that it's the question before us. It could be a question about the color of the street. It could be a question about, will they decorate the Christmas trees? The point is that there is, I think, Pat, if I kind of see where you're going, it's like the fact that there is a question
Yes.
is the
yes.
concern. And
Yeah.
because there is a question, it opens the door to have this other discussion right
Exactly.
now. The problem is having that discussion right now might say to Hillwood, we want to walk away because we didn't get what we want out of this. And we're sort of forced into this game where we have to say, we have to answer all these questions now without possibly being able to with all the information we want. We know it's too early, but we have to get past this 65-foot question. And it's the only reason we're talking about it, unfortunately, before we know everything we want to say.
Yeah, it's a
I
good,
get
good,
that.
good point, Paul. Good way to put it.
I get that, but if the town meeting votes no to the zoning changes, then the next day, if, let's say Hillwood says, we're still in the game, the next day, they come back with a plan that says, we're doing everything we said at 40 feet with lower lamps. And now every other question, what's it gonna be? Who's gonna be in there? What is gonna, who's the tenant? Those questions that people are asking at town meeting are still going to be questions. But now
Right.
there's no venue for them to be answered.
I
until-
agree.
Well,
Sorry,
they-
what I would say though is if Hillwood was gonna move ahead either way, I'm just trying to think logically, wouldn't they have already done it? If they didn't, if it wasn't a possible game breaker for them, wouldn't they have just consummated the deal with George and moved on?
No.
My concern,
No,
I
because
don't-
this would be, this would determine the level of tenant they would be able to get.
that's
You know,
fair. they just, I don't know, they strike me as a company that's got the resources to say, if they were so sure it was gonna happen either way, at 40 or at 65, like we've got tenants A, B, and C at 65. We've got tenants D, E, and F at 40. Who cares? Buy it. Try to get this done because we'd rather have tenants A, B, or C. I just don't know that they would wait and sit and see what happens and go through all of this if they were going to do it no matter what. That's just my
No,
opinion, but
yeah, I mean, I can appreciate from an investment standpoint, that you wait for, and that's what our argument has been. We want to attract a top flight tenant or a top flight, user.
we want
And
that.
we want that, but at 40 feet, we said it's the difference between Amazon or Wayfair and Bob's Discount, that
Right.
at any rate, I'm going to call an end to this end of the discussion because I think a lot of these questions will be somewhat answered at our meeting on Thursday.
All right, Can I just add one more thing
Of
to
course.
Paul's comment? One of the things that Hillwood has said to us, not only is it that they can get a higher lease cost for a grade A tenant, they're not only going to be paid more, which is what they're in business to do, to make money, but the lease, if they do lease it instead of selling directly to the tenant, the lease is going to be much longer term.
That's fair.
So it's better for their business to have a grade A tenant at 30 years than a grade B tenant at 5.
Totally agree. That's a good point.
And that's why they're pushing for this.
I totally agree with you there. I would
Okay.
still say I think they would hedge if they knew they were, if they didn't, I want A, but I'll accept B. I think they would.
Well, we don't
move,
know that
but fair
I
enough.
don't know then.
Okay.
I mean, at most, when I've mentioned it to Mac, he said it would be problematic. What happens
you
if
go.
it's problematic?
There you go.
So
It's like Judy.
it's problematic. All right, Joanna, you're up. 94th Street.
Oh,
Take the
boy, oh,
lead.
boy, oh, boy. I sent an email to all of you, probably just an hour before the meeting or 2 hours here.
I
don't know if
haven't.
I don't know if you've opened up your
I haven't.
email. You have, okay, great.
Yep.
Well, I met with, as I said, I met with Brenda today. And obviously we're gonna have to have a vote on this, but I do have a contract which was attached to the email. And as I said to Sharon, that if after the vote, tomorrow, Sharon can call Brenda and she'll send her the electronic, so she can electronically sign it and it'll be there. Some of the things that we talked about, and I want to make sure you understand as well, is that the contract says that she has a exclusive, which is normally how they do it. Sharon posed a question to me, says, hey, what if someone comes to us and, we sell it to them, Well, it doesn't quite work that way. If somebody came to us today, like we did have somebody from the town clerk, Mr. Sugden, his name is, he was interested in it. And I called him personally, but he has since called Brenda and told her that the client he had is no longer interested. If that's kind of situation happened right up front, yes, we could continue to do it. But usually
I do.
when-
I have that guy from the electric distribution company who sent me a direct email last week. Shelby had given her my email for the property.
Okay.
But I said we hadn't had it appraised yet, but that was all.
Oh,
And then I see you have a listing price of 175 here.
yes,
So that is what actually bore out my question. We've had someone come in specifically from the listing on the town website, went up to the select board's office, talked to Shelby. Shelby gave him my email and he contacted me directly. And I said at that point, we just hadn't hadn't set a price yet, but it was
Right.
being reappraised.
Right.
So that was my question.
Okay.
Can we accept? I have to look up his name again, but it was from an electric supply guy.
Okay.
So, but go ahead. But that was my
So,
question.
so basically, talk about the town website. I'll either work with Shelby or I talk with Paul today to take that sentence that said we're under PNS, when in fact, that's already been done. So I want to take that off.
Yep.
And I asked Shelby to create rda.contact@carverma.org. So I'm not advertising with Brenda, I'm advertising as RDA. And I told Brenda today that I will get those emails back. Anybody who is interested will send to that rda.contact. I've already tested it, it works. And I'll respond back and give it to Brenda. Brenda will be advertising. She'll have a sign on there as well, and she'll be advertising through MLS. The other pieces that we talked about was that she was in favor of advertising, and I also told her to go onto our website because Jim Walsh did a very good job, and I added a few pieces to it, but he did a very good job explaining about that site. And I also told her that she needs to go into permitting department and pull that folder so she can be very familiar with the well and how the layout is, and that we have permanent markers or surveyors and so forth. So we have all that. The other thing too is, let's see, what was the other thing we talked about? We talked about the variance and how long it's going to go to June, and I also told her how we had talked about it last meeting, and if necessary, the RDA would, once it lapsed, we could come forward to the zoning board and apply for another zoning variance. That would probably give a better comfort to maybe the person who wanted to buy it. We talked about on that site, and she also wanted me to know that Jack Williams must have had something cooking, because he's now put back on the adjacent property up for sale for $275,000. It's almost 2 acres. So he must have had something cooking, and it probably burnt on him. And that's why he reneged on what he was trying to do. It sounds like it. I'm not quite sure what he wants to put up on that particular piece of property, but anyway, she did mention it. And as far as the number of 175,000, it's been on the website. She agrees. I told her we had a professional appraisal do it. And she thought I think the current card is around 180, but we seem to be advertising in the ballpark for that particular piece of property. She asked me, and Savory, I'm going to ask you this question because you did in 20, let's see, 20, I think you went and got the paperwork, because she asked me about what we did with the paperwork that Savory brought back. And I said, well, I don't remember Savory bringing anything back. But on her, she had a photo and somebody wrote on it, the original went back with Savory on 12/5/2018. Do you remember that, Savory?
I have it.
Oh, you do?
Mhm.
Oh,
What
It's-
was the original paperwork?
well,
Okay,
it's
let
a
me go back.
plan. It's a
Oh,
plan.
the plan, right. I don't think the plan was ever recorded. It's not at the Registry of Deeds. We don't have the Mylar to it that I know of.
Oh, okay. Well, that was done by Morse Engineering. We spent over $2,000 just to have that done. And so if you want to give that back, I guess we could do that.
I gotta find it. It's not-
Well, you know what? When he finds it, how about I take it to Staples and we make a copy of it?
All right, I found it away. You all know we sold Forest Street a long time ago. no longer current. So
Savory, if you do have the plan and you find it, I'll take it and I want to make a copy of it because I believe it's our only one, or we should order another one from Morse Engineering.
It's Morse Engineering.
Hold on.
now.
That's Morse.
So that, I think that kind of wraps it up. It's just really in the back in the hands of of us members agreeing to accept the contract, having her as the agent. And I just want to make sure that we understand that she has and will deliver legally the standard offer form. And the person who's interested has 10 days or 2 weeks for the making that offer or that deposit, whatever they require, to be signed. Once that's done, then we or she would engage. She asked me about Kathleen O'Donnell, and I told her that we're back working with her, and that she would then engage with Kathleen O'Donnell, because there would be a standard P&S that she would write up.
Yeah, we'd want that reviewed by Kathleen, and then
Absolutely, yeah,
Kathleen would probably drop the deed for us.
right, exactly.
all right, I'll have to look for it. Thought I'd put it in the folder I had from Brendan. It's not there. It's just the contract I first signed with her was there,
Oh, okay,
not the plan. I'll look for it.
okay. Okay,
Okay, so is she going, should I call her tomorrow? Or?
yes, on that email I sent, her address and her phone number is there, so you need to call her using that phone number,
Okay,
and she will prepare the electronic contract for you, so you can sign it. And as chairperson, I told her you're the chairperson.
yeah.
Yeah, and you'll put down Sharon Clark, comma, chair,
Yep.
whatever. Okay, great. I think, and her contracts run 6 months.
Okay,
And I said to her, you're gonna sell it in 2 weeks, aren't you? And so we kind of laughed. So I
but
said, we have to
she'll
make
run by-
Savory happy. We gotta have a party. We sold it.
She will run by us any contingencies because the developer is going to want to know that he clears planning board and what have you. So,
Absolutely, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
okay, all right,
You can just assure yourself by taking up that conversation tomorrow.
I will. So do we need to vote on this to accept the
I would
175?
I would highly suggest that you do that.
You want to make a motion, Joanna?
I move that we accept the agreement and the contract and have it signed by Chairperson Sharon.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We'll do a roll call vote. Pat Mahar,
Yes,
Paul Costas,
I,
Savory,
Savory Moore says aye.
Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says aye.
Sharon Clark says aye, so it is unanimous, and I will speak with her tomorrow.
Thank you very
And
much.
if anyone who didn't see the contract, Joanna sent it out about an hour before the meeting on email with the two. Okay, there you go. Once more
Okay.
into the breach.
That's right.
I don't think there's anything new on Robert's Way, the tax title
Well,
property.
yeah, let me just kind of add to that. I called Elaine. She's the person that takes care of all this stuff, and I explained to her what the tax collector told me and what I thought Rick did or didn't do. She went about, she said, and I told her it was called 0 North Main Street for a long time, but it's not now. And I looked at the card, and the assessor's card actually says the correct square footage, and it also has everything that's supposed to be there is there. It's 90 Forest Street. It's not 0 North Main Street. So anyway, she went back to Kara Dayhill and she had Kara Dayhill give us Article 13 land transfer that happened in 2015, which was the right verbiage where the tax collector transfers for purposes of sale of auction to the Board of Selectmen and so forth. My only question was, and I thought that at that point in time, there was an article that physically gave it to the RDA. Now,
Are you talking about 94th Street or Roberts Way?
oh, you're right. Let me go back. I'm getting mixed up.
Because we're all done with 94th Street.
That's correct. And I,
So
and I
done.
We
need-
paid
I
a
don't, what I
lot of
wanted to
money
say, okay,
we paid
what-
a lot of money to get the town's snafu cleared up.
right. What
So-
I should have said, which I didn't say, using this language
Okay, that's
as
what I thought.
being the official language for the article that's going to be written up for Roberts Way at the town meeting. The
Gotcha.
part that I don't see is the RDA through all these, every time we got any land transfers, it was always at the town meeting and it was given to the RDA. I don't know about that language. I don't see it here. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
I think the article, the way it's written, can either give it to the RDA or give it to the Board of Selectmen, as Robert's Way was, and then the Board of Selectmen turn it over to the RDA. That is the vote of the Select Board to decide.
Okay, so yeah, I guess, I'm sure you're right, because it says here, actually, I don't have to say it, I will, but I want to send it to you guys too. I'll send this particular email back to you, but it does say that the town voted to transfer from the tax collector for purposes of sale at auction to the Board of Selectmen for purposes of sale in accordance with the right chapter, section, yada, yada, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen, here's the word, to convey on terms and conditions as determined by the Board of Selectmen to be in the best interest of the town and interest in the parcel of land identified on the town assessors map, which would be Roberts Way.
Roberts Way.
And so that's it. That's the language.
Right, so it goes to the Board of Selectmen and they can decide what to do with it. And in many occasions, they have conveyed it to, by a vote at one of their meetings to the Redevelopment Authority.
Right.
All I
Right.
want to know is whether that article is going to the Board of Selectmen. Whether we want to have anything to do with Robert's Way is another discussion.
That's what I said. So
Yeah,
I'm
we're not doing
calling, I'm gonna call Elaine tomorrow just to make sure that that language, which has the Roberts Way information on it, is correct. And that's the article that's gonna go back to the KP Law to be certified and so forth. We
Yeah,
can,
we
as
don't
I said
actually-
to Elaine, we can stand at the, on the, at the floor and say, no, we don't accept that. Or we
Well,
can-
no, it won't be at town meeting. It's at a select board meeting. I mean, Bob Belbin has interest in developing that parcel for affordable housing. So maybe he has some other ideas through the select board. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he'll go to Tops or
Yeah, yeah,
we'll see.
okay.
Okay, the topic not reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours in advance of the meeting would only be the meeting at the fire station on Thursday, for which Savory and I will attend. Okay?
Mhm.
And then Pat, is there any kind of a treasurer's report? You're just gonna do them quarterly, right? Or,
Well, no, I'm gonna,
He's gonna
my
do it Monday.
basic treasurer report will be a reconciled bank statement which comes at the end of the month, which I'll give out at the beginning of the month or to the next,
okay,
the first meeting, but all bills are paid. And I'm going to, I want to talk to you a little bit more, maybe later in the week, about filing a reimbursement with Hillwood. We're down about
Okay.
$5,000, a little over $5,000. And so I will see you about that. And
okay.
other than that, everything is in good shape in the financial world.
Good.
Yeah, I may, after we talk, may just have you talk to Matt Gutsy personally, because
Yep.
that way you can do the electronic transfer now.
Yeah, I've got all the information that's necessary in attachments and so
Okay.
forth. I got the
Perfect.
number, all that stuff, and it's just the electronic transfer. Yeah.
Okay, now for the feature, the main event tonight. The 8 sets of minutes that we need to approve.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I will say without hesitation that Sue Hannon had saved the day, for which she will be submitting a bill, but she went through 6
Well worth
months
it.
of 6 months of minutes. You know, checked them over to see which ones had been approved, which one had not, by backtracking each one's. She wrote Paul's in about an hour and a half, I think.
Nice.
Wow.
And
7 pages of notes combined.
and she really acted like it was no big deal. So I don't know what I was complaining about. But so
Neither do we.
She was left with 8 sets of minutes, which I had forwarded to you, that have been submitted but not approved. And these go back as late as August 3rd to last week's meeting. So once they're approved, they can be uploaded. She uploaded all the other ones to the website. I gave her my password and my name to do it, and the instructions. And so I was very concerned that, you know, the lack of administrative support and, you know, the discombobulation in the building department with the changes and no planner and, Rick and everything kind of put me behind the 8 ball on this kind of administrative stuff, which is not my strong suit. Ron will attest to that. But I wanted to make sure that all of our minutes were up on the website. We were hiding nothing. We didn't appear to be hiding anything. And so we are left with 8 sets. We can take them as a group or we can take them individually. First, I will simply ask, I'm going to read off the dates, and I will ask if you have any changes or concerns about any of them, okay?
Can I just do
Yep.
right straight through
I'm
everything?
expecting.
I
you.
read everything and I think everything is fantastic. Paul, you did a great job. The
Thank you.
only change that I'm going
They
to
look
say,
great tight.
and the change I want to see on every one of these, except for the more recent one, the one she just did January 4th. Savory Moore is vice chairman. Every one of these doesn't say that, and he has been vice chairman all along.
Okay, so you want her to, she said she would make any changes that we needed.
Okay.
I set these out, but can't find them in order, so I'll do it this way. So the only change is wherever Savory Moore's name appears, you would like it to read vice chair.
I don't know within the body, it's just the very beginning.
Oh,
When I opened up,
okay.
when I opened it up, it said Savory, it says he was a member, but he's not. He's a vice chair. And that goes all the way through every one of them, except the very last meeting we had, because I made that comment already to her. She now has said Savory Moore is vice chairman. And to be honest with you, within that body, I
Doesn't
didn't,
matter.
it doesn't matter.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of the following meeting? Yeah, do you have something, Savory?
You said you were gonna go meeting by meeting, right?
Yeah.
All right, when you get to the one, I have one typo, so.
Oh, okay.
When we get to it.
7:20, is there a motion to accept the minutes of 7/20/21?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. Pat Maher,
Yes.
Paul Costas,
Aye.
Savory Moore,
Savory Moore says yes.
Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says yes.
Karen Clark says yes, they are so approved. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of 8/3/21?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Don't fight. Is there a second? We should just go in a row here. Is there a second?
Second. I'll do second.
Okay, again, roll call. Pat Maher,
Okay, yes.
Paul Costas,
Aye.
Sabri Moore,
Sabri Moore says yes.
Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says yes.
Sharon Clark says aye. It is unanimous. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of, let me see, where am I? 11/2/21.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. Pat Maher,
Yes, yes.
Paul Costas,
Aye.
Sabri Moore,
Sabri Moore says yes.
Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says, oh, I was absent. Do I not say yes?
so you
You
don't
were-
get to vote.
You
I don't
abstain.
get to vote. I don't get to vote.
So Sharon Clark says aye. It is unanimous with the exception of Joanna Layton. 11/2, 11/9. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of 11/9/21?
So moved.
So moved. I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call. Pat Maher.
Yes.
Oh, wait, Paul left. Everybody's moved. Joanna Layton.
Joanna Layton was absent.
Okay. So she abstains.
Abstained.
Paul
yeah.
Costas. Paul Costas.
Aye.
Sabri Moore.
Sabri Moore says yes.
Karen Clark says aye. It is unanimous with one abstention of Joanna Layton. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of 11/16/21?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. Pat Maher.
Yes.
Joanna Layton.
Joanna Layton says yes.
Paul Costas.
Aye.
Sabri Moore.
Sabri Moore says yes.
Sharon Clark says aye. It is unanimous.
Before we go on, I
Oh.
wrote down the wrong date for the one I had the question on. It was actually August 3rd, and it's just a typo.
Okay, what was it?
Did you print them out?
Yeah, I did.
I
Okay.
read them online, but I have
I
copies.
printed it out.
All right, it's on the, it's on page 2 near the bottom.
Okay,
I did it online. It says your, Y-O''RE, and then the
It's
word
your-
R. No,
Okay.
it says your R. It's either you are or your. It's not both.
what's it supposed to be?
Either one is fine,
Okay,
but it's in effect saying you are.
okay.
It's at the bottom of page 2. Who's the one that was speaking? What statement is this? Ms. Clark?
I don't have anything in front of me other than a Post-it note that says your are
Okay,
and the date. So it's at the bottom.
okay.
So we have to revote on that with amendment.
All right, let's go back.
I move that we approve the minutes of August 3rd as amended.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Roll call. Pat Maher,
Yes.
Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says yes.
Paul Costas,
Aye.
Sabri Moore,
Sabri Moore says yes.
Sharon Clark says aye. It is unanimous for the revote with the minutes of 8/3/21 with correcting the typo. And we are down to,
November 30th.
I think it's November 30th, right?
Yeah.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes of 11/30/21?
So moved.
I'll
Is there a
second. I'll second.
Roll call. Pat Maher,
Yes.
Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says yes.
Paul Costas,
Aye.
Sabri Moore,
Sabri Moore says yes.
Sharon Clark says aye. It is unanimous. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of 12/14/21?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Pat Maher,
Yes.
Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says yes.
Paul Costas,
Aye.
Sabri Moore,
Sabri Moore says yes.
Paul,
Yeah.
you have to abstain. You weren't there.
Oh, you're right. I abstain.
So Paul
you.
abstains.
Yes, he does, yeah.
Sharon Clark says aye, so that is 4 in favor with 1 abstention by Paul. And is there a motion to accept the minutes of 1/4/22?
So moved.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second. I'll second.
Roll call, Pat Maher,
Yes,
Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says yes.
Paul Costas,
Aye.
Avery Moore,
Avery Moore says yes.
and Sharon Clark says aye. And that's unanimous, and those minutes are approved. You have no idea how good that makes me feel.
Ah,
Now let's sell forestry.
Yeah.
is-
Okay, so
I just have to ask you a question. Is Susan going to be the person who's going to be doing this rather than redelegating this back to the girls in, one of the girls in the permitting department, or what?
Jill Martin has been talking to me, but she hasn't actually mentioned the minutes yet. If it's okay with the RDA, I just assume, and I haven't talked to Sue about it, if she's amenable to continuing on to do this portion of it until we get somebody really designated. It's just that we may be having extra meetings. I just don't want anything to slip through the cracks the way it has this time.
Okay.
Are there any members' comments?
I just want to say, I went through that website. I think it's fantastic.
Oh, good.
The wording, just that I'm the little gray area with that timeline. I love that timeline. I love it.
Mhm.
And those frequently asked questions, and Savory said that the clicks aren't really working underneath those categories, those
Yeah.
five, yeah, and I noticed that
Mhm.
too. And the two little problems I saw, two little issues, I gave that to Paul Kelly. He's supposed to give that to Savory.
Yeah, he did.
Anxious to see more videos. I like theater videos.
I think it's gonna be great. I can't thank Savory enough for taking the lead on this, and Paul Kelly for coming in and designing and executing the website. That is not my strong suit at all. And I think the idea of the frequently asked questions is gonna be a lifesaver. It should provide the information that we need. At least it's available for people who want to find it. The next meeting.
Is February 1st or 2nd? February 1st, Tuesday the 1st.
Tuesday, the 1st.
yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of nice to have the meetings on the night of the, when the working group was in the morning. Get-
I agree. I agree. That works out well.
Get the information to this group very quickly.
Yeah,
I agree.
passes it
Yeah.
right back to us. I really like
Yeah,
that. Thank you.
yeah.
That's nice to have.
Yeah.
Okay, so 6 o'clock.
That's fine.
Okay,
Is
so
everyone comfortable with Zoom, or do you think we want to go back? I'd like to do one more, I
Oh,
think.
let's do at least one more Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm so comfortable with Zoom. So comfortable.
I've learned not to look at myself.
Yeah.
Um,
I just have to ask you, John Pacheco was online here. Who's he?
Mark
Pacheco.
Pacheco is with Consensus, Hillwood's public relations firm.
It's ironic that it sent it to Pacheco. That's who I thought it might have been.
Yeah, no, it's a different Mark Pacheco.
Oh, okay.
I think officially his name is John his first name, but he goes by Mark.
He goes by Mark. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Paul Costas, when you get a chance, can you just send me your phone number in an email, please? So I
Certainly.
can give you a buzz before we meet next Tuesday. Just,
I will do it right now.
great, thank you.
You're
Yeah, Paul,
welcome.
Paul, can you email me your cell phone? I think yours is the only one I don't have.
I can do that.
Do you think, Paul, you could share that with us?
How about I can send it to everybody.
Well, that sounds good to me.
Start charging money, Paul. It seems to be in demand.
No kidding, huh? This is awesome.
All right.
That would be
Is
good.
there-
That would be good.
Is there, so it'll be 6 o'clock on the 1st, and is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there
Yeah,
a second?
Second.
Second.
A roll call with gusto. Pat Maher,
okay, yes.
Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says yes.
Paul Costas.
Yes.
You have to go see how the Alvin and the Chipmunk Song Fest finished
Oh,
out.
no kidding. No kidding.
Savory Moore,
Savory Moore says yes.
Sharon Clark says aye. We are so adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
Area
you.
58
much.
too.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Good night,
safe.
everybody. Good night.